Throughout history, there have been many political leaders and senior members of government who became the target of assassination plots. Some of these were successful in the most barbaric and brutal ways, but many attempts have also been foiled. One man who suffered inside of Spain was the Prime Minister of the nation, and the long-time confidant and the right-hand man of the Spanish dictator Francisco Franco, Luis Carrero Blanco. He was a senior officer in the Navy and Armed Forces, and was also a key player in the Spanish Civil War. But he became one of the most powerful and recognisable faces inside of Franco's dictatorship, and he held a number of very powerful positions. It was on the 20th of December 1973 he was assassinated inside of Madrid, becoming a victim of a bombing attack by a Basque nationalist group. But what happened with his brutal assassination? To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe. Luis Carrero Blanco was born on the 4th of March 1904, and he joined up with the military academies as a young man, and he followed his family tradition. He enlisted in the Spanish Naval Academy at San Fernando, and by the age of 18 he had already risen to the rank of lieutenant at a very young age, and he then served on board a dreadnought and in the Rif War. He was particularly interested in submarine warfare, and served on them as a commander, but with the outbreak of the Spanish Civil War, Blanco was a teacher inside the Naval Warfare College in Madrid. He knew that he would be arrested and possibly subjected to execution, as he was a military officer who held conservative political beliefs, and his brother had also been executed. His father was arrested, and he then died on the day of his arrest, but many nationalists who were high up sought refuge in the Mexican embassy, and then in the French one. Blanco was able to cross into France, and then re-entered Spain on the nationalist side. He served in the nationalist navy, as a captain on board a destroyer, and then later a submarine. But the nationalists would after a couple of years be victorious in Spain, and Franco was then installed as a dictator, and he recognised Blanco's efforts and skill, and in August 1939, Blanco was appointed the Chief of Naval Operations. He then rose throughout different governmental positions under Franco's dictatorship, and was made the Under-Secretary of the Presidency of the government. He was a skilled advisor for Franco, and he was extremely faithful and submissive, and Franco did get on well with him. Blanco continued to rise throughout the Navy, becoming an admiral in 1966, and he was then made the Deputy Prime Minister. In this role he received most of the day-to-day running of the government, and Blanco was practically running the country. He continued to carry out Franco's policies as the dictator got older and suffered with his health, and he was in 1973 appointed to the position of Prime Minister. However, he would not be in this position for long. There were talks inside of different dissenting groups about carrying out the assassination of high-ranking members of Franco's government. Specifically, a Basque separatist group known as ETA rented out a flat on the route where Blanco regularly went to Mass on a Sunday at San Francisco de Borja Church. Over a period of 5 months, the plotters dug a tunnel under the street, and they informed their landlord that they were conducting work for a university project, but they then packed the tunnel with 80 kilograms of explosives which were taken from a government depot. On the 20th of December 1973 at 9:36 am, a three-man commando unit, disguised as electricians, detonated the explosives as Blanco's car passed by. The explosion was so huge that Blanco and his car were sent 20 metres high into the air and over the 5-storey church, and they landed on the second-floor terrace of the opposite side. Somehow initially Blanco survived the blast, but he died shortly after, in fact less than 45 minutes later, from his injuries. The bodyguard and driver who were also in the car died, and the men who were posing as electricians claimed there had been a gas explosion, and they managed to get away. Within a few weeks, the ETA admitted responsibility for the assassination of Luis Carrero Blanco. They said in an interview that the execution in itself had an order and some clear objectives. From the beginning of 1951, Carrero Blanco practically opposed the government's headquarters in his regime. From the beginning of 1951, Carrero Blanco practically occupied the government headquarters in the regime. Carrero Blanco symbolised better than anyone else the figure of pure Francoism, and without totally linking himself to any of the Francoist tendencies, he covertly attempted to push Opus Dei into power. A man without scruples conscientiously mounted his own state within the state. He created a network of informers within the ministries, in the army, in the Falange, and also in Opus Dei. His police managed to put themselves into all the Francoist apparatus. Thus he made himself the key element of a system and a fundamental piece of the oligarchy's political gain. On the other hand, he came to be irreplaceable for his experience and capacity to manoeuvre, and because nobody managed, as he did, to maintain the internal equilibrium of Francoism. Some inside of Spain's opposition in exile were even rather jubilant and were positive about Blanco's execution and assassination, and it was said that the assassination helped to further the cause of Spanish democracy. But it was an incredibly violent attack, and it was planned and coldly carried out. Carrero Blanco's funeral marked one of the last times that Franco made a public appearance, but it was a brutal assassination which rocked the Spanish and the dictatorship of Franco. Thanks for watching. To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe, and once again, thanks for watching.